She was just a sick, elderly black woman, trying to get home with her medication. But a racist cop used his truck to terrorize her again and again. He thought no one was watching. He thought she was powerless. But what he didn't know, her son was a top FBI agent, and he was watching everything. Real quick, where in the world are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments. And if you love real-life stories with twists, don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. Now, here's how it all began. It was a sweltering Thursday afternoon in Denton Falls, Georgia, one of those southern towns where everyone knew each other and change was as rare as snowfall. The main street buzzed with the occasional truck engine and the faint hum of cicadas. But for Lorraine Mitchell, it was just another battle against pain. At 62, Lorraine had lived a life full of hard work and harder trials. Her spine was deteriorating from years as a hospital janitor, and fibromyalgia meant even getting up from her porch required effort. But she refused to give up her dignity. Every Thursday, she took her mobility scooter down to Granger's pharmacy to collect her prescriptions, painkillers, inflammation meds, and heart pills. Just her and her worn-out backpack. She never caused trouble, never talked back, just moved quietly. That made her the perfect target. He came in a black F-150, massive tires, engine louder than necessary, chrome rims catching the sun like teeth. Officer Brent Dorsey had been on the Denton police force for 7 years. Big frame, buzz cut, mirrored sunglasses, and a smile that never reached his eyes. Locals knew he was a bully, but no one ever challenged him, especially not if your skin was darker than the uniform he wore. He spotted Lorraine slowly crossing the road on her scooter. Her movement was slow, shaky. He revved his engine, hard. Lorraine flinched. She gripped the handles tighter and tried to speed up, the electric wheels humming weakly. Dorsey didn't stop. He crept the truck forward, inching closer and closer, his bumper barely a foot from her back. She glanced over her shoulder, her face pale with tension. He smirked. Then he honked. One long, deafening blast. Lorraine jerked so hard she nearly tipped. Her bag tumbled off the scooter, spilling bottles onto the hot pavement. Dorsey stepped out casually, boots clacking on the road. "Well now," he drawled. "Ain't you supposed to be on the sidewalk, ma'am?" Lorraine looked up at him, breathing hard. "Officer, I'm just getting my medicine. You scared me." He crouched beside her, picking up one of the bottles. "Percocet, huh? Powerful stuff. You sure you ain't selling these to the kids?" "I have prescriptions. You can check," she said, voice trembling. He leaned closer. "I could check, or I could report you for reckless driving, blocking traffic, riding illegally on a public road. How's that sound?" Lorraine blinked. "Please, I didn't do anything." He stood up, tossing her bottle back into her bag. "Let's keep it that way, Granny. Now get moving." She nodded, too afraid to speak, and slowly rolled toward the pharmacy as he walked back to his truck. Dorsey stood by the door a moment, scanning the street with no real purpose, then chuckled to himself and drove off fast. But he wasn't alone. Across the street, inside a small rental sedan, someone else had been watching. A man in a beige cap, aviator glasses, and a plain gray hoodie leaned slightly forward in his seat. His face was calm, but his fingers tapped lightly on the dash. He zoomed in on his phone screen, the truck, the badge, the threats. He'd caught everything. Then he opened a secure app, tapped record incident, and typed, "Subject, Officer Brent Dorsey, civil rights violation, code 512A, and hit submit. His name was Malik Mitchell, FBI Special Agent, Counterintelligence Division, son of Lorraine Mitchell. Malik hadn't been home in nearly a year. He was always chasing shadows, cyber leaks in D.C., cartel movements in Miami. But 3 nights ago, he received a call from an old neighbor named Paulette. "Malik, your mama's not well, and this town's gotten worse." So he'd flown in under the radar. No press, no badge, just a son in disguise. He'd already heard rumors of Dorsey, and now he'd seen it with his own eyes. Back at the pharmacy, Lorraine stood in line, her knees aching, her breath shallow. The girl behind the counter gave her a sympathetic look. "Are you okay, Miss Lorraine?" "I'll be fine, baby," she said, forcing a smile, just a bit shaken. She paid, packed her meds, and left, not realizing her son was now trailing behind her at a distance, watching every move, making mental notes. When she arrived home, her tiny cottage on the edge of town looked peaceful. But Malik knew peace didn't mean safety. He parked 2 houses down and waited. Then, right on cue, the black F-150 rolled past again, slower this time. Dorsey didn't even stop. He just let the window roll down and smiled. Lorraine froze on her porch. The truck rumbled by. Malik clenched his jaw, His mother didn't even know he was here yet, but she would. Just not yet. Not until the trap was ready. He picked up his phone again. Voice memo. Dorsey may be monitoring victim's residence. Pattern of intimidation. Strong possibility of deeper network. Will investigate local dispatch logs, radio patterns and cruiser cam reports next. Need probable cause soon. Surveillance continues. He ended the memo and leaned back. The line had been crossed. And he wasn't here just as a son anymore. He was here as a silent weapon. Malik stayed hidden behind tinted windows until night swallowed Denton Falls. The town dimmed after sunset, no nightlife, no traffic, only porch lights flickering like stars barely clinging to their glow. He had parked across from his childhood friend Jerome's old garage, now abandoned. From there, he could see his mother's porch clearly. Lorraine was inside, light in the kitchen still on, curtain drawn just halfway, probably sipping warm tea and rubbing her knees like she always did on bad pain days. But what Malik saw next made his skin crawl. At 10:44 p.m. that same black F-150 rolled past again. Only this time, it didn't keep going. It stopped, half a block down, then backed up, slowly, deliberately. Malik ducked slightly, watching from the shadows. Dorsey killed the headlights and left the truck idling under a tree. Then he stepped out, not in uniform this time. Just jeans, boots and a gray hoodie, no body cam, no patrol duty, just intent. He approached Lorraine's house like a hunter, slowly, silently, stepping around the side of the fence toward the backyard. Malik didn't hesitate. He was out of the car in seconds, gun holstered under his jacket, footsteps silent. His FBI training kicked in. No panic, no emotion, just purpose. He rounded the back of the house just in time to see Dorsey standing near the back porch window, staring through the screen. Malik's voice rang low but firm. Step away from the house. Dorsey spun, startled, hand instinctively reaching for his waistband, but there was no badge, no weapon, just arrogance. "Who the hell are you?" Dorsey snapped. "Concerned neighbor," Malik replied calmly. "You tailing me, boy? Just noticed a strange man sneaking around an elderly woman's home at night. Thought I'd say hello." Dorsey stepped closer, jaw tightening. "This your turf?" Malik didn't blink. "Is it yours?" Silence thickened between them. Dorsey finally scoffed. "Tell that old woman to stay off the streets. She's a hazard. She'll end up hurt, and it won't be my fault." He turned and walked off into the dark, slipping into his truck and peeling away without another word. Malik stood in the yard for a long time. That was no casual threat. It was a warning. And now he had one more piece of the puzzle. The next morning, Malik quietly entered the Denton Falls Municipal Building, posing as a consultant named Reggie Owens, clean-shaven, laptop bag slung over his shoulder. Nobody looked twice. Inside, he found a corner workstation, logged into the secure FBI server through his VPN, and started pulling local data, dispatch calls, internal complaints, cruiser logs. Within minutes, patterns emerged. Dorsey had been involved in 12 use-of-force incidents in the past 4 years, all against minorities. 0 consequences. Most complaints were dismissed before investigation. One disturbing file caught Malik's eye. Case No. 1120. Maria Gonzalez. Fractured wrist during routine vehicle stop. The officer listed Brent Dorsey. A video link was attached but flagged as unavailable due to storage issue. Malik's heart sank. He knew that code. Deleted footage. He leaned back and whispered, "You've done this before." Meanwhile, Lorraine had no idea her son was behind the quiet storm brewing in town. She was sweeping her porch slowly, wincing with every stroke. Her hands trembled from nerve damage, but she still fought through the pain. The street was quiet, or so she thought, until she noticed a black muscle car parked across the road. Not the truck, something sleeker, newer. Inside sat 2 men in suits, watching. She tightened her grip on the broom. Across town, Malik's phone buzzed. Private alert. New vehicle stationed near subject's home. Not registered to Denton PD. Unknown intent. Malik left his desk immediately. He called Reese, his FBI partner still stationed back in Atlanta. "Dorsey might not be acting alone. I'm seeing signs of coordinated surveillance. Internal or rogue. Could be both. I'll extract my mother. She's no longer safe." "Want me to call it in?" Reese asked. "Not yet," Malik replied. "I want them to feel untouchable, just a little longer." That evening, Malik pulled into his mother's driveway. It was time to finally show her his face. When Lorraine opened the door and saw him, her eyes welled with disbelief. "Malik, baby, what are you doing here?" He hugged her tightly. "I couldn't stay away anymore, Ma. I had to see you. You didn't even call. I had to move quiet. I've been watching. You've been harassed." She looked away, embarrassed. "I didn't want to worry you, But he's been following me, scaring me. I know, Malik said gently, and I'm going to stop him. Her eyes widened. Stop him how? I can't say too much yet, he whispered, but I promise you, justice is coming. Across town, in a dimly lit bar behind a gas station, Dorsey sat at a corner booth, nursing a beer. He wasn't alone. Another officer sat across from him, Corporal Tim Jarrett. You sure about this? Jarrett asked. Messing with that woman? You already spooked half the town. She's just noise, Dorsey muttered. But there's something off. Some guy popped up out of nowhere, said he was a neighbor. He had that look. Jarrett narrowed his eyes. Fed? Could be, Dorsey said. And if he is, we clean house fast. He leaned forward, voice dropping. No more games. By morning, Malik had converted the guest bedroom of his mother's home into a surveillance nerve center. Cables ran beneath rugs. Laptops buzzed softly. One mini drone perched beside a cracked window. A discreet camera now overlooked the front yard. Lorraine didn't like the mess, but she trusted her son. You're turning my house into a movie, she teased weakly. Malik smiled, adjusting his earpiece. No, mama, just making sure the ending's the one we want. He tapped his laptop. Motion detection from the previous night showed the same sleek black car had returned, 4 separate times between 1 and 4 a.m. It never parked, just circled slowly like a shark. He analyzed the plates. Stolen. That meant only one thing. Dorsey was mobilizing help. Malik's eyes narrowed. Let's see how deep this rabbit hole goes. Meanwhile, Officer Dorsey sat in a back room of the Denton Falls precinct, door locked, blinds drawn. In front of him sat a gray case, unmarked, secured with a biometric lock. Jarrett stood beside him, pacing. You really want to go this far? He's FBI. I can feel it, Dorsey said, jaw tight. And if we don't move now, everything we built goes up in smoke. He opened the case. Inside lay flash drives, files, photos, a burner phone, evidence of years of corruption, unjustified stops, seized money, blackmail on judges, threats to business owners, even surveillance footage of internal affairs officers being paid off. Dorsey wasn't just a bully, he was part of a ring. Jarrett glanced over his shoulder. If anyone finds this, they won't, Dorsey cut in. Not if we shut this guy down before he exposes us. He picked up the burner phone and sent a message to an encrypted contact. Green light, 1 target, agent profile, confirm identity, silence quickly. Back at the house, Lorraine sat on the couch with a heating pad wrapped around her back. She watched her son work, switching between traffic cam hacks, city phone logs, and digital footprint tracking. Do they know who you are? She asked. Not yet, Malik replied, but they're paranoid. That's when people get sloppy. He tapped into the precinct's backup radio frequency, something he'd quietly installed through a back door weeks earlier. The screen filled with officer chatter, encrypted but traceable. Then he heard it. Black sedan back in position. Target may be FBI. Verify visual tonight. Confirm suppression route. Malik's heart stopped. They're planning something tonight, he whispered. Lorraine looked at him. Then we leave. No, he said, standing. We set the trap tonight, for all of them. Later that evening, Malik contacted Reese. I have enough to get warrants on Dorsey and Jarrett. Civil rights violations, conspiracy, abuse of power, and obstruction. But if we wait, they'll vanish. I need backup tonight. I'll be there, she said. ETA 5 hours. I'm bringing a full team. Malik nodded. Good, because they're making their move soon. At 9:42 p.m., the streetlights flickered outside Lorraine's home. The black sedan returned, but this time, it parked. 2 men stepped out, both in plain clothes, hands in jackets. The passenger walked across the street slowly, holding what looked like a tablet and an earpiece. Inside the house, Malik crouched beside the couch. Go to the back room. Lock the door. Don't come out unless I call you. Lorraine nodded, fear trembling in her fingers. Malik slipped on a black windbreaker and exited through the side door. He moved through the shadows of his childhood yard, crept along the side of the neighbor's hedge, and flanked the street from behind. The man on the sidewalk was now scanning the front of the house, as if mapping the property. Malik emerged behind him, silent as breath. Then he spoke. You lost. The man turned sharply. Private property, Malik said coolly. Just doing repairs, the man lied, flashing a fake utility ID. In the dark, Malik raised an eyebrow. I don't think so. At that moment, Malik activated the signal on his key fob. From 3 rooftops away, 2 drones zipped silently into view, shining bright white floodlights directly onto the man and his partner in the car. Malik raised his phone. Live recording. Face clear. Smile for the feds, he said. The man turned to run, but before he could reach the car, 3 black SUVs came screeching into the street. Doors flew open, FBI tactical team in full gear swarmed the block. FBI, on the ground. Lorraine peeked through the curtain and gasped. Neighbors turned on lights. Confusion rippled through the sleepy neighborhood. The two men were restrained within seconds. Malik stepped forward as Reese approached. "You weren't kidding," she said. Dorsey went full covert. "And now we drag him into the daylight." The next morning, the Denton Falls precinct buzzed with tension. Uniforms moved stiffly. Phones rang non-stop. Something was off. Then the power cut. Darkness. Within seconds, the front doors burst open. FBI agents stormed the building. Dorsey dropped his coffee. Reese led the raid. "Brent Dorsey, you are under arrest for civil rights violations, conspiracy, and obstruction of justice. You have the right to remain silent. Get out of my station," Dorsey roared. Malik entered next, flashing his badge. The room froze. Dorsey's face went pale. "You," he whispered. "You're FBI. I was never just a neighbor," Malik replied. "I'm the son of the woman you tormented." Dorsey lunged, but was tackled and restrained. Jarrett tried to flee through the rear door, but ran straight into two armed agents. Within hours, the files were seized. The ring collapsed. But Malik knew one thing. The damage ran deeper than arrests, and there was still more to uncover. The sun rose over Denton Falls with a sharp stillness in the air, like the town knew something had shifted. News vans crowded the street outside the police station. People whispered at diners. Phones buzzed non-stop. But inside a federal holding facility 2 towns over, Brent Dorsey wasn't whispering. He was screaming. "You set me up. You came into my town and played me." From behind the one-way glass, Malik watched, arms folded, as Dorsey pounded the steel table. His wrists were cuffed tight. Sweat dripped from his forehead. "He's cracked," said Reese beside him. "Pressure's mounting." Jarrett already turned. Said Dorsey was more than just the muscle. He was the pipeline. Malik nodded. "Then it's time to climb." They stepped into the interrogation room. Dorsey sat up when he saw Malik, his eyes wild. "You think this is justice? You think this town will thank you?" Malik pulled out a tablet and played a clip dashcam footage from 3 years ago. It showed Dorsey stopping a woman, dragging her from the car, and slamming her face first into a wall. The audio crackled with her screams. "That woman died 2 days later," Malik said flatly. "Internal Affairs called it accidental. You called it routine." Dorsey's face drained. "You have no idea who you're messing with," he muttered. "No," Malik said, leaning in. "You didn't know who you were messing with. That woman on the scooter? That's my mother. The one you taunted with your truck. The one you watched like prey." Reese dropped a thick file on the table. "And this is a list of every name you pushed, every voice you silenced, and every dollar you took from your cleanups. You're done." Dorsey sat back, eyes darting. Then he smiled. "You think this ends with me? I wasn't the top. You just cut the cord, but the power's still running." He leaned forward. "Ask yourself, who kept me safe all these years?" 2 hours later, Malik and Reese stood in the FBI mobile command truck. "Pull everything," Malik ordered. "Town hall, council members, state troopers, judges." Dorsey had protection, and I want to know who gave it. Their digital analyst, Beth, nodded. "I'm already inside the Denton Falls legal server, pulling sealed complaint logs." As lines of code filled the screen, a red alert pinged. "Here," Beth said. "Look at this." It was a court order from 6 months ago, signed by Judge Monroe Hargrove, sealing 6 complaints against Dorsey, including the incident with Maria Gonzalez. Malik's jaw tightened. "That's our leak." Reese nodded. "He'll need a soft touch. Hargrove's well connected." "Then I'll handle it," Malik replied. "Let's pay the judge a visit." Judge Hargrove's office sat atop the marble courthouse downtown, oak-paneled walls, leather chairs, and a portrait of himself hanging over his desk. When Malik and Reese entered, he didn't flinch. "I was expecting you," he said, adjusting his glasses. Reese kept her voice calm. "We'd like to ask you about 6 sealed court orders suppressing citizen complaints against Officer Dorsey." Hargrove looked unimpressed. "I followed legal protocol. Each order was reviewed independently." Malik pulled out a flash drive and slid it across the desk. "This contains audio from your last meeting with Dorsey. He offered you kickbacks for sealed records." Hargrove didn't reach for it. Instead, he sat back, exhaled, and said, "You don't understand how this state works. There are gears turning above my level. State attorneys, donors, sheriffs, even campaign managers." Reese stepped forward. "Then give us names, or go down with them." There was silence. Then the judge whispered, "State Attorney Daniel Rowe. He was Dorsey's real shield. Federal money for public safety was being funneled into private accounts, and I just signed the papers." Malik's eyes narrowed. "And what about the intimidation units?" "They weren't official, just off-the-books teams, paid to scare people, sometimes used by Rowe for special attention cases." Reese tapped her phone. We need warrants, now. That night, as they built the case, Lorraine sat quietly at home, watching the news. The screen showed Dorsey being escorted into a black van, reporters yelling. The words "federal investigation widens into state-level conspiracy" scrolled beneath. Her hands trembled, not from illness, but from awe. "My baby," she whispered. "My God, my baby." She looked at the front door. A photo of her and Malik from 20 years ago sat on the table. In it, he was just a boy. No badge, no gun, just her son. Now, he was peeling back the layers of a poisoned system, but somewhere else, inside a glass high-rise, Daniel Rowe stared at the news screen with clenched fists. He turned to the man across his desk, a sharp-jawed strategist in a black suit. "They've gone too far. What do you want to do?" the man asked. Rowe reached into his drawer and pulled out a burner phone. He dialed a number. "I need you to silence someone. Quiet, fast." A distorted voice responded. "Name?" Rowe's eyes turned dark. "Malik Mitchell." FBI agent Malik Mitchell sat in the back of a black surveillance van parked outside the Georgia State Attorney's office. The van buzzed quietly, screens displaying footage from pinhole drones, phone trace triangulations, and audio feeds piped through hidden mics. It had been 12 hours since Judge Hargrove spilled the name Daniel Rowe, the man pulling the strings. But something felt off. Too quiet, too smooth. Reese leaned in beside him. Still no response from Rowe's office. Malik shook his head. "Phone's been off since dawn. I think he knows we're closing in." A message pinged on Beth's tablet from HQ. Encrypted voice message intercepted. Contract put out. Target, Malik Mitchell. Priority, elimination. Reese's mouth went dry. "They know who you are." "They always find out," Malik replied, calm but alert. "But if Rowe ordered a hit, this isn't just law enforcement corruption. This is federal-level obstruction, attempted assassination." "Exactly," Malik said. "And that makes him ours." 2 hours later, Rowe's glass building stood surrounded by unmarked SUVs. Inside the elevator, Malik adjusted his blazer. No wire this time, just confidence. They entered Rowe's office like thunder. The man was sitting by the window, pretending to read a newspaper. He didn't even flinch. "I assume you have a warrant," Rowe said flatly. Reese dropped a thick folder onto his desk. "One for your emails, one for your phone, one for your bank accounts, and another for your burner phones connected to the contract put on Agent Mitchell." Rowe stood, trying to keep composure. "This is a setup." "No," Malik said, stepping forward. "This is the consequence." He pulled out a tablet and played a voice message. Rowe's own voice. "Malik Mitchell. Silence him. Fast." Rowe froze. "You're under arrest," Malik finished. Reese cuffed him while 2 federal marshals entered. Rowe's expression twisted, but his words held venom. "You may have won this town, but the system is bigger than you." Malik leaned in, whispering, "Systems can be broken, especially by the people they forgot they trained." 1 week later, Denton Falls held its breath. A public press conference aired across the country. Camera crews set up on the courthouse lawn. FBI logos lined the podium. Malik stood in front of the mic. "My name is Special Agent Malik Mitchell. I came to Denton Falls not as a federal officer, but as a son. A son whose mother, Lorraine Mitchell, was harassed and intimidated by someone who wore a badge but served no justice." Flashes sparked from cameras. Gasps rippled through the crowd. "We uncovered a chain of abuse that began with a patrol truck and climbed to the top of the state's justice system. But today that chain is broken, and justice finally is served." The crowd erupted in applause. Some cried, others cheered. Lorraine watched from the front row, tears streaking her cheeks. That evening, Malik sat on the porch with his mother, a blanket wrapped around her shoulders. They sipped tea as the streetlights flickered on. "You never told me you were coming," she whispered. "I had to keep it quiet, Ma," he said. "But I was always watching. I just didn't know it would get this close." She looked at him with gentle eyes. "You didn't just stop a man. You stopped a whole sickness." Malik nodded slowly. "I just did what you taught me. Stand up when it matters." In the weeks that followed, over 25 arrests were made. Denton Falls replaced its police chief. New policies were introduced for protecting vulnerable citizens. Complaints were reviewed, officers were retrained, and most importantly, voices were finally heard. Malik returned to D.C. with commendations, but he refused the limelight. All he wanted was peace for the woman who raised him, and justice for those who couldn't fight back. In a quiet room in a federal penitentiary, Brent Dorsey sat alone, flipping through a newspaper. His name was now a headline, his power gone, his silence complete. A guard passed by and nodded to the cell door. "Mail for you." Inside was a photo. It showed Lorraine Mitchell standing proudly beside her son, both smiling, standing tall on their porch. On the back scribbled in pen, We're still standing.